My name is Tepo Mavimbela. I am a tattoo artist and a permanent makeup artist at TBT Beauty Therapy, and I also do training sessions. So in this video, I'm talking about some of the permanent makeup concepts that we provide here at this shop and also the training that we provide. So this is especially important for people who are looking to train in microblading, in ombre, in micro shading, which is permanent makeup, or if you just want to understand the differences between the two, or three if you want to say. So we have microblading and then we have ombre brows. Ombre brows and micro shading, in my personal opinion, could be in the same group, and I'll explain why briefly in a moment. Microblading is a process of applying strokes onto your eyebrows, which makes your eyebrows look natural. If you don't have any eyebrows or you have little eyebrows, with microblading, the strokes that are added onto your eyebrows, it makes it look as though you do have your own eyebrows. So it looks very natural, and it is done manually with a tool that has a blade at the end made up of 9 or more needles. Sometimes it could be also less needles, but these needles are so compact together, it looks and feels as though it's a razor, and we stroke into your eyebrows. Now with ombre brows and micro shading, the way it's done is the same way, and it is with a tattoo machine. A tattoo machine, but most of the time there is a specific tattoo machine that is specifically created for for ombre brows and for micro shading rather. The difference in ombre brows, micro shading and microblading is that with ombre brows and micro shading, the tool here, it doesn't look as natural as microblading does. It doesn't look as natural as microblading does because what we do is shade into the eyebrows. Now, the differences in the way they look is not that vast between the two. With ombre brows, it's more of a powdered effect, it's more of a powdered look, which gives you that makeup feel and also gives you that glam makeup look. With micro shading, most of the time you do have that bit of the powdered or that powdered look, but then it is shaded almost to the tip of the eyebrows, right between your eyes, meaning that it is dark from the last part of your eyebrow, and it is dark almost all the way. I will show you examples with a drawing diagram right after I'm done. But two other differences, another difference between this microblading, ombre brows and micro shading is that with microblading, if you have oily skin or your client has oily skin, unfortunately this will not be an option for them, even though they are looking for that natural look. If they do insist on going for microblading, you should let them know that if they go for microblading and they have oily skin, sensitive skin, dry skin, or any other skin problems that they may know or may not know about, then it might not stick onto their skin and it might not last on their skin. And we will go into the reasons why this will not happen if they do microblading. And then we have ombre brows and micro shading, which typically is good for all skin types, and it doesn't require too many retouches. So whether you have oily skin or dry skin, you are going to have good results, lasting results with your ombre brows and micro shading. This is after you do your retouch, of course. Now, I am going to explain why you need to do retouches, and also within me explaining why you need to do retouches is explain why microblading wouldn't last if you have oily skin or if you have dry skin or any other kind of ailments that might affect the permanent makeup. I am going to speed up the video because I am going to be drawing a diagram for you which will be explaining why with microblading or with permanent makeup as a whole you always need to do retouches. And with this explanation, I'm going to have to draw sort of what seems like a skin diagram. If it's not that great, I'm just trying to go as quick as I can. Okay, so this may not look like much, but this is very important for you to understand and know when it comes to tattooing your permanent makeup. This is also a great diagram to understand generally if you are a tattoo artist, and I'm going to explain exactly why. Now, what you see here is human skin. I know it looks a bit thick here, but this is for the purpose of education, right? So with human skin, what you have right here at the top is typically what would be your dead skin, and this falls off over time as it sheds. And then this right here is your healed skin. Right here is another layer right underneath your heel skin, and then here is another layer of your skin that supplies all the nutrients, the oils that your skin needs. Now let's name these skin, okay? As I mentioned, here we have the skin, right, which is all of this. These two layers right here, being the very top part and being this part with the squiggly looking lines, this is called the epidermis. Epidermis. I almost misspelled that, so it's Epidermis. This skin layer is called the epidermis. And then we have this open skin layer in between both the squiggly lines. This is called the dermis. So let me create an arrow that comes from here. This is called the dermis. And right here is the hypodermis. It's this layer right here with the dots. You see these dots that are made right here? This layer is called the hypodermis. Now there are only two important skin layers that you need to understand, and I'm going to go further into detail onto why you have to specifically know these skin layers. If you are doing tattoos, when your needle goes into the skin, let's pretend that this arrow is the sharp end of a needle. If your needle goes into the skin, it passes the very top layer, it passes the epidermis and straight into the dermis, depositing ink droplets into the skin. As you pull your line, and all these ink droplets that you have deposited into the skin will sort of come together, or as they are being pushed together by the skin body soldiers, that it creates one solid line into the skin. You need it to be in this layer so that the tattoo can last, right? But when it comes to permanent makeup, you do it superficially. And what superficially means is that you don't actually go into the skin all the way. What you need to do is ensure that as you do your process, or as you do the procedure, the skin, the pigment, this time we don't use ink, we use pigment. We could say that ink tattoo is also pigment, but then with permanent makeup, the pigment goes into this layer right here. It doesn't reach all the way here. It is superficial. So when you use your microblading tool, when you use your ombre brow tool, it goes into this part right here. And again, let's pretend that this is the tip of the needle, and it deposits the pigment into this skin layer. And as you see me doing dots, I'll also explain why I'm doing dots. So as you can see, the difference between a tattoo, let's say this is a tattoo, and this here is PMU, standing for permanent makeup. The reason you do retouches with your permanent makeup is because it is superficial. It is at the top part of the skin, and this top part of the skin is always regenerating itself. And as it regenerates itself, you also have your white blood cells in the body that always fight the pigment that comes in. So let's pretend that's a white blood cell. Imagine these, and there's millions, probably billions or trillions in your skin that fight anything that goes into your skin. Because remember, the skin is an organ that is always exposed, so it is always fighting to protect itself, right? The body is always fighting to protect itself. That's the outer shell of the human body, which is the skin. So with the tattoo, the ink goes all the way in, so it is much harder for the body to fight it out of the body, out of the skin rather. But with permanent makeup, it's superficially, right at the top of your skin. So it is much easier for the white bodies, so for the white blood cells, let's just call them body soldiers. Body soldiers, it is much easier for the body soldiers to fight off the pigment that you put into your skin, but obviously it will not do it 100%. This is why after you do your ombre brows, microblading, even your lip neutralization or eyeliner, it fades. You get 50 to 60%. For some people who are lucky, they get 70% of the pigment retained after healing, and therefore you need to get your retouch. Now, with microblading, remember I said that it is not good if you have oily skin. The reason for that is because on top of the body soldiers fighting the pigment to go out of your body, you also have other nutrients and other things coming in from within your body. Oils, this being, let's just say nutrients. These things come in a form of some sort of liquid, which also fights in pushing out the pigment out of the skin. And the reason it is easier to push it out of the skin with microblading is because with microblading, as you blade the skin, you do not necessarily a deeper cut into the skin, but it is a bit wider. It will be this wide. Let's say this is the whiteness where the pigment will have to go out, and with ombre brows, this is the whiteness. It is not that big. It is not that big, so it's not that easy for the pigment to go out of the skin. And also with the meshing, you deposit a lot more volume into the skin. So with microblading, it might be a thick dash, and you think that because it's so much thicker, there's more ink or pigment going in. Not necessarily, because as much of the pigment is going in, more of it comes out because of the body cells and also because of other nutrients from within the body. And if you have dry skin, remember the skin sheds all the time. If you have dry skin, there's always going to be shedding, and it sheds away with the pigment, which is why ombre brows and microblading ombre brows and micro shading are better for people with complicated skin. I will show you another example just so you understand even deeper the differences between the two. Okay, so let me start by making an example with two kinds of eyebrows. Here we're going to do the example of microblading. So with microblading, when you are doing the procedure, as I said, you create strokes into the skin. And this is what, more or less, what they will look like as you do it. Okay, for the sake of time, I am going a bit quicker, but this is more or less what you would see if you do microblading. And as you can see, this is what your hair will typically almost look like, especially if you brush it nicely. This is what the hair on your eyebrows will look like. And this is microblading, that's what it looks like, that is the difference. And then with ombre brows and micro shading, you do a pendulum movement into the skin. And as you do a pendulum movement, it deposits the pigment into the eyebrows, okay? And then you go with the second pass. Then sometimes you go for the third. And if you are gentle enough, you can go for the fourth. And typically it will look much darker. Here, I think my marker is disappointing us, but then typically it will look much darker here, and then looking less dark here. So we have your darkness all the way here, and then here it's less dark. This is microblading, and here it's your ombre or micro shading. And that is it with the differences and how you deposit ink into the eyebrows when you do microblading or you do ombre, brows oil, micro shading. If you have any questions, leave a comment and I will make another video to ensure that you understand as much as you possibly can.